Thank you very much, Bob, for that very generous introduction. I'd also like to thank Joe Drayton, the president, and other members of the MBBA board for this recognition, particularly so in light of the distinguished lawyers who've been recognized by this group in past years. I would further like to thank my many friends and colleagues who are present tonight, many of whom have traveled great distances, some as far as San Diego, Kansas City, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and the like. And although I am very grateful for the Trailblazer recognition tonight, I do look forward to the day, hopefully within my lifetime, when minority general counsels are so numerous that no longer can we use the term trailblazer for persons like myself. But that said, I am mindful of the substantial progress that minority lawyers have made in the past 30 years. The reason is that I was among the first wave of minority lawyers who joined major Wall Street law firms in noticeable numbers in the mid-'70s. I vividly recall how many of us thought we had arrived in the mainstream after many years of exclusion. But it was immediately clear that there were no minority partners in these firms and few minority associates. And diversity was even worse within the law departments of major corporations at that time. But despite the red flags, we came into the law firms assuming that if we worked hard and performed at a high level, we would be duly promoted up to partnership over time. But the reality was that hard work was not enough. High intelligence and high work output were not enough. And many highly capable minority lawyers on Wall Street soon found themselves in a box, with none progressing up to partnership. Many left their law firms within less than 2 years after many countless frustrating experiences. Now, many minority lawyers at that time thought that race was the key barrier. But the reality is that race was only part of the problem. The bigger problem was that many of us didn't know how the game was being played on Wall Street. In other words, we didn't know what we didn't know. The reason is that many of us, as Joe Drayton mentioned earlier this evening, were first-generation college grads or first lawyers in our families. We didn't have the knowledge about law firm politics that many of our white peers had about how to develop sponsors and mentors, how to craft strategies to differentiate ourselves and make our mark early on. Many of our white peers had learned these things from their parents, who often themselves were lawyers and corporate executives. Many of them had had many tutorials on corporate politics sitting around their dinner table, and therefore had a distinct advantage from the start of their career. So, fast forward to today, and minority professionals are much more clued in about how to play the game, and it's reflected in the fact that much progress has been made over the last 20 years. There are significantly more minority partners and associated in major law firms, and a few minorities have become general counsel of Fortune 500 companies. But let's not kid ourselves. There is still no level playing field in major law firms or in corporate America for minorities and women. There are still significant barriers. And there is still much that minorities can learn about the rules of the game in order to compete on a level playing field. And this makes for a nice segue to tonight's program theme, Making Your Mark, Leadership, Vision, and Innovation. Based on my long experience in the corporate and law firm world, I've come to believe that effective leadership will provide the best chance for minorities to reach their highest professional aspirations and someday level the playing field. So, just what is effective leadership? Much scholarship and commentary has been devoted to this subject over the years, and there are many different schools of thought. However, after 35 years in the corporate world, I've learned a thing or two about what effective leadership is, and I thought I would briefly touch on it tonight. Just to be clear, these leadership principles will likely be most useful for those of you who are in the early and mid stages of your careers. The most experienced of you will already have a good grasp of what effective leadership is. So just to briefly summarize, effective leadership arises from being exceptionally good at something, which commands respect within your organization. And being exceptionally good at something requires years of honing one's professional expertise. Effective leaders influence and inspire others because of their thought leadership and respected judgment. The importance of consistently good judgment cannot be overstated, and that includes the exercise of strong judgment while under stress during crisis situations. Effective leaders project the confidence of a leader in their body language and personal presence. Effective leaders are very good communicators. Effective leaders hire first-rate talent and build high-performance teams. Effective leaders understand that strong talent management creates a competitive advantage. Effective leaders motivate strong team performance through encouragement and mutual respect, and not through fear. Effective leaders have exceptional ability to engage people and explain how their proposals create win-win outcomes for all involved. Effective leaders are very good at identifying key strategic priorities within their organizations and taking actions that facilitate those priorities. Effective leaders are skilled at sorting through complex issues and cutting to the chase. They don't get hung up in analysis paralysis. Effective leaders are out-of-the-box thinkers and have the courage to be change agents. Effective leaders make things happen, often against all odds. Effective leaders are not afraid to take big career risks. The importance of managerial and personal courage cannot be overstated. Effective leaders have strong intestinal fortitude and can quickly bounce back from temporary setbacks and missteps. And let's face it, setbacks and missteps are an inevitable part of even the most successful careers. And lest we forget, effective leaders adhere to high standards of integrity and resist the temptation to cut ethical and legal corners. History is replete with examples of promising careers that have been derailed by bad integrity judgments. Finally, effective leaders go to great lengths to help their younger team members understand that successful careers are marathons and not sprints. And successful careers require well thought out career strategies, lots of hard work, laser focus on excellence to make it happen. Effective leaders also know that many young people underestimate the amount of time, work, and determination that is required to fully realize their professional aspirations. Those young people who seek instant realization of their career goals will inevitably be disappointed. These are the cold, hard facts that many young people don't want to hear, but that will not change the reality. Effective leaders understand that it is critical that those who wish to reach their fullest professional aspirations never stop learning and never stop striving for continuous improvement. So, in conclusion, I urge each of you to keep your eye on the prize and to continue to fight the good fight and keep the faith along the way. There's much light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you for your attention.